Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Kurt Leavins. Hey, Kurt.
Hey, David. How are you tonight?
I'm good. It was kind of an okay game. You know, the Oilers lost 2-1 in overtime. I was kind of maybe falling asleep a little bit in the second period, but the game picked up in the third. Seattle gave a big push, and it was an interesting game in the end. You're here tonight because Bruce McCurdy couldn't watch the game, along with probably half of all Oilers fans. If you have TELUS, I think you got the NBC channel. So if you realize that it was on NBC, and if you have TELUS, you could watch it, and that's how both you and I watched it. You get that. We both get that station, but Shaw customers don't get that particular NBC affiliate, and they did not see the game tonight, and it wasn't on the Oilers website due to technical difficulties. So. And my cat's scratching the heck out of my couch over there.
Yeah, we get King 5 out here in the coast, so it's part of our cable package out here. So it's kind of bizarre to be watching the Oilers on that Seattle channel after all these years. But yeah, I think there's a lot of people when they lost the feed didn't have a view of the game tonight. So we're maybe among a minority this evening. So,
alrighty. So the Oilers lost 2-1 in overtime. They were up 1-0, and then the last minute of the game, the Kraken tied it up. Let's do two good things, two bad things, and two numbers. And because it looked like it was going to be an Oilers win, at least we'll go with two good things each. Kurt, why don't I start it off? Because the story of the game really is Stuart Skinner, I think. And
yeah, agree.
I think that was the best I've ever seen him play as a professional. Was in that game tonight, and he had games last season, kind of leading up to this, where he looked like he was capable of this kind of game. But you may recall in his one game in Edmonton last year, he was kind of iffy, and he let in 5 goals, and he didn't look comfortable in the net. He's getting more and more square to the puck, less likely. One of the issues he's now and then been a little bit out of position. He gets out of position after he makes a save. I didn't notice that as much tonight. I saw him square to the puck, up on his feet, fast, just really alert and super solid. It wasn't a high event game in terms of scoring chances. Seattle apparently outshot the Oilers according to the official count, but I think the scoring chances were about even, and I'm going to guess there was probably about 6 or 7 true grade A chances each. It wasn't a really big offensive game. But Seattle started to come on in the second period, and I thought Stuart Skinner they got a lot of outside shots there, and he was technically sound and blocked everything. And then he made some really big saves in the third period, including a 1-2-on-1 where Devon Shore wiped out, and there was a 2-on-1 as a result. And Skinner made a great save there. He got beat on a tip shot right in front of the net by Jaden Schwartz at the end of the game, and on a one-timer power play that he really had no chance on. So he had a great game, I thought. What did you think of him?
Yeah, I agree with everything that you just said. The 1-1 goal was a double deflection. So the shot from the point ticked off a stick about 20 feet off the blue line, then the deflection right in front, which popped it into the net. I agree with you. I didn't think he had a chance on either one. I thought that he looked confident, whereas in his NHL debut last year, he didn't. And he looked square to the puck almost all the time. He looked like an NHL level goaltender tonight. Certainly the best performance I've seen out of him.
Yeah. Have you noticed the same thing? Like in the past, like he seems to be like, why? I watch him play. I think like, why are you there in the net? Like, why aren't you over here?
I would see him over. I would see him overcommit in the past, and maybe lose his net a little bit. I didn't see that at all tonight. It felt like he was in position all night long.
He's really getting it down, and he's got another year where the Oilers can send him to the farm, get through waivers without having another team able to take him. He's protected. So one more year of development. And, you know, Kurt, the Oilers really are going to need to find some bargain hockey players. And if they can go, if Mike Smith is up to it as a 39 and 40-year-old, which is a possibility, they're going to need another goalie when Koskinen's contract runs out. And if so, Skinner has a real opportunity here, and he's starting. like the verbal from the organization, I've never got the sense that they see him as a goalie of the future, but he's starting to earn that a little bit with his play in the playoffs and last
Yeah.
season in the AHL, and he's starting to get some. I think he's going to get some respect within the Oilers organization, and I bet you that went a long way in maybe tonight's play with Dave Tippett thinking, oh, maybe there's a goalie here.
Well, you know what? It gives me some confidence in if one of the guys gets hurt, I'm okay with him coming up and being the backup and get the game here or there. So I would say
Yeah,
that. And the other thing I would say is I agree with you, given the situation the Oilers are vis-a-vis the cap, to have one of their two goaltenders next season be on his ELC or a contract, comparable to those dollars would be really important to this organization from a financial standpoint.
yeah. What's your good thing, Kurt? Your first good thing?
My first good thing was the Oilers' first line tonight, centered by newcomer Derek Ryan, with newcomer Zach Hyman on the left side and Kailer Yamamoto playing in front of a close to hometown crowd tonight. I don't know if you saw David, but his mom and dad and grandma and grandpa were in the rink tonight in Washington State to watch him play, which must have been a thrill for Kailer. And I thought that even though the three of them didn't get on the scoreboard tonight, I thought they were the best line on the ice on either side. They looked like a real NHL, second/third line that could play in all situations. Derek Ryan, I was wondering, boy, is he really a fourth center and he's going to be playing 3C this year? I don't know. As I watch him through training camp, he's performing like a 3C. Now, we're halfway through the exhibition season. I always say there's two halves to any exhibition season. The first half where you can look good, but that doesn't mean you are. It's the second half of the exhibition season where you really kind of need to turn it up and perform. I've seen lots of good players over the years look good over the first 3-4 games, and then they just throw darts for the rest of the preseason. But I got to say, Derek Ryan is giving me some confidence in that 3C position. And Zach Hyman he's the real deal, man. Some of the work that he did down low and again below the goal line in the Kraken end tonight, he's a load. He's a real heavy player who's great on the walls, great protecting the puck, and he skates better than I remember him seeing. Like, he's got really good straight ahead speed. The three of them were effective tonight, and despite the 2-1 loss, I thought they were the best trio on the ice.
I have found it personally very encouraging to watch Hyman. I mean, I knew from the Toronto games that he was a good player, but I hadn't watched him closely. Now I'm watching him closely. He skates a bit better than I thought. He's a bit better with the puck than I thought. And on the tying goal, he maybe was a little slow to get to Giordano at the point. Maybe he could have blocked that shot. He got a little turned around because he thought the play was going to go one way and it went the other way. But he was involved in a number of plays. Twice, I think, where he screened the goalie, and because he was kind of like jamming the goalie, there was great chances for both Ryan and Yamamoto. But the best play came actually in the third period. The puck goes into the Seattle end. He charges after it, and he just hammers down on the Seattle player, and the puck comes squirting loose to Yamamoto, who set up Ryan right in the slot for maybe the best chance of the game, really, for the Oilers in a lot of ways, and Ryan couldn't score. So yeah, he's the Chris Kunitz comparison is starting to think, maybe there's an air of reality to that comparison, because he really reminds me of that player, and kind of a same kind of tools in his toolkit. So far so good. What is your second good thing, Kurt?
My second good thing was Brendan Perlini. This guy has 4 preseason goals now, and in the battle for that 4 right wing position, you have to feel like, from a pure performance on the ice standpoint, contractual things, you can look at this through a different lens, but from purely how he's playing on the ice, it looks like he's got a neck on Tyler Benson for that 4 right wing job. That was a lovely high deflection for the 1-0 goal tonight. You know what? He's got size, he's got speed, and he's got hands. he ain't the perfect player. There's a reason why he was in Europe last year, and there's a reason why he went goalless in 40 games in Detroit or whatever. This guy's been through the ringer a little bit, but he's got tools. And early in this preseason, he's put it together, and he's looking like a player. Now, spin back to what I just said about
I was going to remind you of that, Kurt.
I've seen lots of players like him look really good in the early going, and I thought, oh, gotta be, this guy's going to be on the team. And then all of a sudden they go quiet. So far, so good. This guy looks like a really good find. But once all the other teams that the Oilers are going to play start to make their cuts and get down to their actual team, let's see how he does against a real NHL team. Although Seattle had close to their full lineup on the ice tonight.
Yeah, they didn't have Yanni Gourde or Larson, but
awfully close though.
Yeah, I wonder. So I noticed tonight, like he has a tremendous shot, and he got off a couple good shots. His passing though, his offensive reads, I think he was on a power play, and there were some other situations where he didn't make good offensive reads, and he gave away the puck. So, we'll see how he does. I mean, he's known as a goal scorer, and I like your point about early in training camp. Remember, I think it might have been Magnus Pajärvi's first year. He came in here and ripped it up in training camp. Mm-hmm. And that was as good as he probably ever looked for the Edmonton Oilers. Yeah. Magnus Pajärvi is now with Moscow Dynamo, as far as I can tell.
Yeah. I remember being on the Flames broadcast crew back in the 90s, and a guy came to Flames camp called Sean Heafy. And over the first half of training camp, Sean Heafy looked like a terrific player. And most people are going, who the hell's Sean Heafy?
That's
exactly.
What I was just
This guy, he just ripped it up in the first half of Flames training camp. And then once he started playing against real NHL players, he just disappeared. And that's where I learned my lesson. I've been a little cautious about that sort of thing ever since. So,
well, we all know from like that, we brought this up on the podcast before. Remember just two or 3 years ago when Kailer Yamamoto and Ratty all had big scoring preseasons and then proceeded to crap the bed in the regular season. Putting pucks in the net. So it can be entirely misleading and all right, my second good thing is Slater Koekkoek, who I thought was the best defenseman on the ice for the Oilers easily.
Yep.
Agreed. And all kinds of strong defensive plays, but just really active in the game, getting involved, trying to, not just playing a passive game, a quiet game. Like, I often say if a defenseman's quiet, that's a good thing. You haven't seen him make a mistake. But really, you need more from that if you're going to play in the top four in the NHL. If you're going to be better than a third pairing D-man, you need to make plays. And he was making plays all night long, including on the goal. It's his outside shot. He got a number of shots. We don't have the statistics. There were no statistics tonight, official statistics from the NHL. But just a smart, active, and really good game. I liked his play. I didn't know what to expect when Slater Koekkoek came to Edmonton. I liked his play a lot last year, mainly in softer minutes, and I was glad when they re-signed him. Who knows? He's what is he? 27 now. He should be in the prime of his career as a D-man. And sometimes you see some of these D-men who haven't been great players suddenly become pretty good NHL players for 3 or 4 years when they hit this age group. So that's what I'm fingers crossed.
Well, and David, he may be a pretty important defenseman for this club in the first quarter of the season. Chris Russell is still coming back from an injury. Sounds like he's getting closer, but he hasn't played an exhibition game yet. Dave Tippett was suggesting maybe Thursday he might get into his first action. And today was Duncan Keith's first on ice session, right? So there's 2 of your 3 left-hand defensemen. So it gives me some confidence to see Slater Koekkoek be solid in games like this, because I guarantee you he's going to be getting games in the first 10, 15 games of the season while those other 2 guys get up to speed. And just kind of complete my thought on Koekkoek. I like how he jumps into the plays. He's active without overcommitting, but he also seems to more than hold his own below his own goal line along the walls. In the heavy going, he doesn't bowl guys over, but he doesn't get bowled over himself either. It's he's right in the battle, and he can stick with it with the big guys from the other clubs. So I think he'll be a valuable piece for this club.
Kurt, what is your bad thing?
Yeah, I really had to think about the bad thing, because overall, against on paper a better lineup tonight, I actually thought the Oilers played okay. You know what? I thought they played decent tonight. The one weakness that I did see was their 1D pairing of Philip Roberg and his buddy Berglund on the right hand side. I thought they were the weakest pairing that the Oilers had tonight. What I want to say about Philip Roberg is he is the prototypical toolsy prospect. When you watch the guy, it's clear he's got an immense amount of skill. He's a terrific, powerful skater. He's already got a man's body. He competes really well in the heavy going, handles the puck beautifully. Like, there's a lot to like about this player. But when you watch him against a mostly NHL squad like the Kraken Ice tonight, you can kind of see how he has all those tools, but he hasn't figured out how to put them all into the toolbox at the same time. And that's usually something that, a half or 3/4 of an AHL season will help you do. And what I saw tonight was a guy with all kinds of skill who I think will be a really good top 4 NHL D-man who needs more seasoning to bring all of those tools kind of under 110. And for Berglund, you know what? I just thought he was a little bit over his head tonight, and is just generally. I mean, I think if we're being honest, he's probably an 8-9. Good depth, organizational defenseman. I'm not down on the guy, but I think that's probably where he slots in the organization. And when you watch him tonight, you kind of go, yeah, I think that's probably about where he is.
I liked him better. I think I've liked him better, Kurt, than how you're assessing him. And I think he's steady, and I think he's there's a couple mistakes that he made in the third period. He got caught on a 2-on-1 up at the blue line, and Philip Roberg bailed him out with a sliding stop.
Yeah, beautiful play in that 2-on-1. Yeah.
Yeah, Roberg was high event. He made a lot of mistakes. He also made a lot of good plays, but completely agree with you that he needs AHL time. And then on the tying goal for Seattle, Berglund could have tied up in front of the net. Schwartz. I mean, he was there, and he probably, Lagesson was. I think he thought Lagesson had the guy, but Lagesson was focused on another guy who was behind him, and. So other than those two mistakes, I thought he was he's a calm. He moves the puck well. He's usually in position. I think he could hang in there, Kurt, on a third pairing in the NHL after, especially after he plays about 20 games. So I think he's on the right side. If there is an injury, I think he's the next guy who will get called up. And I don't think in a third pairing that he will crater the Oilers. I think he'll be okay.
I'll be honest, it would worry me if that were the situation, but we'll just have to bet a coffee on Jasper Ave next time we're together on that one and see how it transpires. So
I guess they could play Chris Russell on if they're looking for another right side, and they would probably do that knowing Tippett. Yeah.
Or Cuckoo, who has played right side as well.
Or Cuckoo. So, Cuckoo's in the lineup this year. Every game, I don't know how many exhibition games he's played, 2 or 3, I think now, but he's been.
I bet you he plays 60 games this year, David.
Yeah. The thing I worry about him, every time I see him take a hit now, I'm worried he's going to get injured because he, the old shoulder.
Collarbone?
Yeah. Was that what it was? Yeah. The collarbone. It's just collarbone. Don't get hurt, buddy. He's really playing his best hockey of his life right now, Slater Cuckoo. And I just want to see him stay, because I think if he stays healthy, he can fulfill his 2-year contract to the Edmonton Oilers, and that will be considered a good signing by the Oilers. Okay, my bad thing, Kurt, was the overtime penalty on Kailer Yamamoto.
Okay.
What I saw there was Yamamoto lifting the guy's stick, popping his stick, and I think, listen, if that's a penalty, like I don't want. Well, I'm going to bring up the Connor McDavid example again. If that's a penalty, Connor McDavid wouldn't have, like, usually we say, well, you could call 3 or 4 or 5 penalty. You could call 50 penalties on Connor McDavid if that's a penalty. Lifting a guy's stick like that, just popping it. He didn't hook I don't believe he hooked the stick. I think he popped the stick. And I don't see that as a penalty at all. And neither did Yamamoto, based on his expression when he was looking at the replay in the penalty box. He couldn't believe his eyes. All right. Your counter argument. Let's hear it.
If we're going to argue the call in the context of what didn't get called against McDavid last year, I'll lose the argument 9.5 times out of 10. What I'll say was, I think any time when an opposing player has a scoring chance, which that was, and you get your stick in the position that Yamamoto got a stick in, you're going to get it called against you the majority of times. And so did I think it was flagrant? No. But if they're calling it by the book, I'd say that was a penalty. And if I was refereeing, I probably would have called it. So, yeah, like that.
Fair. You've made some good points. Like, it was because it was a scoring chance position. But again, I just think you're not allowed to lift a guy's stick. I mean, come on. Aren't you allowed to do that? Like, what penalty? He didn't hook the guy.
I think if you look at the blade of his stick and where the guy's hands were, I think that's what the call resulted from.
You think he might have got it in his hands? Yeah.
That's how I saw it.
You'd have to go over the replay again, and maybe I'll do that, and maybe I'll see that I was incorrect. If he got him in the hands, obviously, I agree. I would agree with you. I just think he got him actually fairly low down on the stick there. I think
it's fair to say it was a ticky-tack call. I'll go that far on you that I didn't think it was flagrant, and I think you could have let it go, and it wouldn't have been the end of the world. So,
hometown call. All right. What do you think of the Kraken, by the way? I'm not that impressed. Like, honestly, like, if that's the best they have, maybe I'll be proven dead wrong on this, but I'm just thinking, I don't know where they're going to get goals from, honestly, on that team.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I think they'll be a solid competitive team night in and night out, but I think they will be sorely challenged. Hang on. My lights will come back in a second. But I think they'll be sorely challenged to score enough goals to win many games this year. I think that's what that team is. They're a solid, defensive NHL team with good goaling. But unless Jordan Eberle shoots the lights out, and like McCann has like a career year, even if that happens, I don't think they're going to score enough goals. Some people have them in the playoffs. I don't think so.
Yeah, well, again, Larson is a pretty good player, and Yanni Gourde is a pretty good player. So their best defensemen and their best forward were not in the game tonight. Yeah. But if Adam Larson and Yanni Gourde are your best
games,
are your best players, your best forward and your best defenseman, I mean, you're not necessarily a playoff team in the NHL. Like, and I have a ton of respect for Adam Larson as a hockey player and Yanni Gourde. So, but I'm not feeling it. Did you give your number? Just wait.
I didn't. My numbers are 4 and 0.
Okay.
4 was the number of shots on net that Brendan Perlini had tonight, and 0 was the number of shots on net that Tyler Benson had tonight. That may feel like a shot against Tyler Benson. I think, like you, David, I actually thought that Benson probably had his best game of the preseason tonight. I thought he played quite well. He played a smart game. He was physical. He took the body when it was called for, made some nice little plays with the puck, had some chemistry with Ryan McLeod. The problem is, to this point, if you're going to pick someone who's going to have a bigger impact in that 4 right wing and that 4 left wing slot, I think to this point it's Brendan Perlini. From a contractual standpoint, I think that Benson will get claimed if they waive him. And so as a result, even though I think Perlini to this point has outplayed him marginally, I think it's closer than probably a lot of people realize because of the waiver factor. And so, yeah, that's my numbers are 4 and 0, and my quick little bits on that battle for that 4 left wing spot.
I think they wanted. I agree that Perlini's obviously he's been far more flashy and far more effective. Like, he's got a great shot. Benson does not have a great shot, and Perlini's big and he's fast. Benson is not that big and he's not that fast. He's a smart player. He makes great passes, and he's made some great passes. They haven't been converted, but he has. And all night long, I thought he was good with the puck. And I don't know what Tippett is looking for in that role. If he wants a more flashy offensive player, Perlini's obviously it. But if he wants a safer player, and who can also kill penalties, that might be Benson. So Benson, because of his, I think just for the role, he may have an edge still. They also have to fill Archibald's slot, so they could move someone over to the other wing, and they could move Hyman to the other wing. Apparently, I'm hearing that he can play both wings, and you could have Puljujärvi and Yamamoto, and Hyman on that right wing, and that opens up then another left wing spot, I guess, for you'd have Benson and Perlini. I don't know if they'd want to do that. Does that make sense? I don't know if Foegele can play both wings. Anyway, there's a number of combinations and permutations. There's two jobs. There's not just one. So now Devon Shore may take that job. There's also talk about Ryan McLeod maybe being sent to the minors, and again he was okay tonight, but he wasn't that good.
Yeah.
He's not looking like he definitely belongs in the NHL. And they could, because McLeod can go through waivers, Kurt, send him to the AHL and keep Benson around because they might lose him on waivers.
So on this topic, did you notice who was taking draws on his strong side tonight?
I did not.
Colton Sevier.
And he was out there with. I am not a Colton Sevier fan.
And we disagree. Like Josh Archibald, so long. I don't think he's going to play this year, David. I had lots of good things to say about Josh as a player. I don't think he's going to play this year. And I think if you're looking for a plug and play guy who can basically do the same thing that Archibald did, Colton Sevier is the guy that can do that. And the difference is he quite as good of a skater as Archibald? No, not. But Sevier can also play a little bit of center and take some draws at an NHL level. I think the right wing decision's easy. I think it's the left one is the one that they're sweating.
I see Sevier as a slower version of Archibald who doesn't hit. And the two things that make Archibald an NHL player are his speed and his hitting. So you take away those two things, what do you have? I'm not.
Look, I'll take Josh Archibald if he can play, David.
No.
I don't think that's going to be a factor, right?
I'm just saying I don't see what Colton Sevier really brings.
I think he's a solid NHL fourth line, but a solid fourth line NHL winger. I'd have him on my team.
Tippett may well agree with you. I'm not. I wouldn't be surprised.
He's reliable. He doesn't make mistakes. Plays a solid, quiet game. Skates well enough to kill penalties. Can take draws on his strong side.
I would rather have Alex Chase on all day long over Colton Sevier, except on the face-off.
Alex Chason's not going to win face-offs or kill penalties for you.
But you have lots of guys who can kill penalties because both Foegele and Hyman can kill penalties. So
yeah, but Hyman's also going to be on the power play, and how much ice time are you going to give him? Right? Yes, he can. So can Connor McDavid. But do you want them both on the PK?
I don't think Connor McDavid kill penalties, honestly.
I think he's good enough to do anything.
If he wanted, if it was his passion, his raison d'etre, but it is not.
Hey,
and same with Draisaitl. I don't really love either of them on the PK.
I think Draisaitl's an excellent penalty killer. It's funny. This is related, but not. People often say, "Boy, you seem to argue a lot with David Staples." And I say, that's really funny because David and I are really good friends and really have a lot of respect for one another. We just happen to have different opinions. That's all. So,
I like Draisaitl on the PK when it's 5-on-3.
He's exceptional in that role. I agree with you there. Yeah.
People say we argue a lot. I've never even noticed that, Kurt. And maybe it's because I argue with everybody.
I haven't noticed it either, but I've had it said to me. I think I've been accused of being argumentative, so maybe I'm starting them, David. Could be.
There you go, Kurt. You. Yeah.
It's all me.
Yeah. Duncan Keith's statement today about vaccination, Kurt. What did you make of it? What was your take?
Yeah, I'll kind of reprise what I said on Twitter today. I look at this from two standpoints. From the social standpoint, where we would wish that professional athletes would set a good example. I wish Duncan Keith was setting a better example with what he was saying. period. My next sentence, in terms of pure hockey in the game on the ice, Duncan Keith has done what is required to be a full-time, full-fledged member of the Edmonton Oilers. For that, I applaud him. And I respect that even though he felt he had a tough decision, he made the right one for his team, and whether he knows it or not, for himself as well. And so as far as I'm concerned, on the ice, from me, case closed. It's done. Move on. I do wish he would say something different, but hey, people are entitled to their opinion. At the end of the day, as far as I'm concerned, he did right what mattered, David, which was what was right for his teammates.
And himself too. And himself. Like,
you and I both know that.
And
right?
I think he will. I think 2 or 3 months from now, he'll just realize, like, I don't know what he will realize. Here's what I took the AstraZeneca vaccine, and when it was being that was in the moment where there was the first reports of myocarditis with AstraZeneca, and it was kind of a big thing for a couple of weeks. I mean, the head of the Canadian vaccine, the head of the Canadian Immunology Advisory Council said she wouldn't advise it. Her sister takes it. Like, the leading Canadian expert said that about the AstraZeneca vaccine. So yeah, was I a little bit nervous? I was thinking about that. I'm thinking, what's going on here? Nonetheless, I took it because we got to open up, and to open up, people have got to get vaccinated, and I'm one of those people. So took one for the team. And you know what? I had a fairly strong sense of relief a few weeks later. I was thinking that was a really, just in terms of my personal health, like it wasn't top of mind, but after a while, and now, like, where it's a couple, 3, 4 months later, I never had any side effects at all. I'm double vaccinated. It's just like, what was I worried about? I guess I was worried about the head of the Vaccine Advisory Council said. Honestly, that's what I was worried about. What a dim bulb. But
sure, but David, you're a smart guy, and you educated yourself, and you made a good decision, right? I mean, it's that's the end of
Duncan. So here's what I would think about Duncan Keith. Here's what I thought. I agreed. I got what he was saying. Like, he's a health fanatic. He's a very healthy person. He takes care of himself. He's totally, he probably measures how many Cheerios he eats in the morning. He probably hasn't had a Cheerio in 30 years. He is a health machine, in a way that most people can't fathom. The amount that he thinks about his diet, thinks about his exercise, it's just so far beyond, I think, what most people do in their lives and how most people look at the world, that it's difficult to understand his position. It could be, but he's looking at himself. He's thinking, what are the chances I'm going to get sick from COVID? He's thinking really low because I take such good care of myself. What are the chances? Now, where I think he gets it wrong, really wrong, is when he's thinking about this vaccine possibly harming him. I just think that's where his riskometer is way off. He's thinking lights are flashing when really it's like, just settle down.
Well, and the other thing I don't think he's the other thing I don't think he's considering, David, is, so let's just suspend belief for a moment, and let's assume he has such a strong immune system that he wouldn't get terribly sick from it. Well, what are the chances that everybody in that room has the same strong immune system that he does? So even if he doesn't get sick, right?
Oh, well, they're all vaccinated.
Yeah, vaccinated, but as you know, that doesn't matter. You can still carry it. And so then if one of those players takes it home to one of their kids who can't be vaccinated, or takes it home to one of their elderly parents who, as you know, even if you're double vaccinated, if you're old and you have pre-existing health conditions, you're still at a risk. So I think there are other considerations that he's just missed, and I'm sorry that he's missed them. But from a hockey standpoint, I'll come back to what I said before. He did what was required, and I respect him for making that decision. And I'm looking forward to, and I'm sure he is too, talking about Duncan Keith on the ice as opposed to off the ice.
Yeah, I don't know how well his press conference went over today. I don't think it went over real well with a lot of people. I'm okay with people, I think it's a personal health decision, and I usually don't weigh in on other people's personal health. I haven't throughout my life, and I don't think I'll start now. Although, if I'm completely honest, I understand we all need to get vaccinated. So on an individual level, I don't want to castigate someone who doesn't, but I also understand we've all got to step up and get vaccinated. So I have kind of a conflicting ideas about this. So,
well, it's a good point. Let me throw in this one more point because I do think it's important. I'm not going to be the guy who's going to sit here and criticize him too long or too hard, because the fact of the matter is he did get the vaccination, and there's millions of Canadians out there that we still need to get this shot, David. And so if we're going to criticize a guy like this who did get the shot, well, then how do we think we're going to convince everybody else? So I do think we have to be cautious in how we approach someone who went through, for them was a difficult decision and then ultimately made it. If we judge them too harshly, are we just pushing away the other people that we want to get the shot? I think that's a danger that we have to be aware of.
I think when we deal with the reality of this, Kurt, the way we're going to get those other people vaccinated is the way that Duncan Keith got vaccinated, in that something really important to them will get taken away if they don't get vaccinated. And it's going to be through coercion. And, he's mad because he feels he was coerced into taking it, but that's how it's going to happen. And Duncan Keith, Evolving Wild, the website has a little tweet out. Here are the 5 worst defensemen in the NHL, I think. Jacob Larson, Mark-Edward Vlasic, Duncan Keith, Rasmus Ristolainen, and Mark Stahl. Evolving Wild, who made their name in Edmonton for saying Valerie Nikushkin was a better player than Leon Draisaitl in the year Leon Draisaitl won his MVP award, and I'll just leave that there. Anyway, like I'm glad we're shifting to Duncan Keith, the player, as well.
Yeah,
I have no idea how he's going to play. I didn't see him play last year. Maybe he's lost a step and he's not up to it anymore. We'll find out. But I'm just really curious to see how he does on the ice. And as you say, he did get vaccinated. He's out there, like it's over, and it will be forgotten soon by most people. Although the Duncan Keith haters will hold on to that. Yeah. Gets their favorite, I don't know, blankie. Anything else, Kurt?
I'm just looking up and down the lineup, wondering if there was anything else.
Oh, my number.
Oh yeah, God, we missed your number. Go ahead, David.
My number's 2. Those are the number of punches that Brad Malone landed in his fight. He knocked the guy's helmet off with one, and then he corked him with the other. You don't see many fights in the NHL, even in preseason anymore. But Malone's a tough character, and he got in that scrap, and he didn't go looking for it. He was challenged after a hit, and he just stuck for himself. So,
for a guy who's on an AHL deal and is going to play in the AHL this year, over these last 2 games, you sure have to admire the effort and the commitment that guy puts into a hockey game. No wonder he's a captain of a professional hockey team. So,
and a big part of that Bakersfield team. I'm going to subscribe to the Bakersfield. I don't think it's that. I think it's. I don't sure. I think it's either like $100. I can't remember how much it is to get the Bakersfield games. It might even be less than that. And I want to see Philip Broberry play down there. But it's also fun to see these veterans like Malone and probably Marody will be down there, I'm guessing.
Yeah, Marody was kind of invisible tonight. I think he'll be down there. And,
he has been in the preseason. He
just can't keep up, David.
It's true, Kurt. Yeah. It's a fair comment. He struggles to keep up with the pace of an NHL game. So, and who else? There's going to be all kinds of really good players down there. Raphael Laval will be there. Ilya Konoval, Skinner. So lots to watch in Bakersfield, including
a real fun big defense to watch down there this year, I think, right?
The Big Boys Brigade.
Yeah.
Alrighty, Kurt. Well, thanks for filling in on short notice for Bruce, and much appreciated.
It's always great talking to you, David. Take care. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, good to talk to you too, Kurt. And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.